Hi, I'm Hazel. You've made it to another Saturday, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I've been up to, and answer some of your questions. This week in WoW, a hotfix went into the game to allow you to purchase Malefic Cores for Echoes of Ny'alotha at the cost of 2,000 echoes per core. You can do this up to the current cap, so if you are behind, you will be able to purchase cores with echoes to catch up. If you have been keeping up with your visions every week, or caught up by doing both visions and N'Zoth until you caught up to the cap, this won't affect you at all because you're already caught up. This is for people like me that got very lazy and fell very behind and were not about to kill N'Zoth again. This is great news for me and for anybody else that wants to catch up but just wants some more flexibility with how to do it. Echoes can be had from so many different types of activity that you can feasibly now get your cloak caught up by doing any number of things. You could PvP for it, you could just do your emissaries, you could just do assaults, etc. The problem with this, not that it's really a problem, is more so just a shortcoming of the solution depending on what kind of problem you're trying to address. It doesn't really help much with alts. I don't think it was supposed to, but this isn't going to do a whole lot of good for your third character that's behind in their cloak, because chances are they need those echoes for their catch-up essences and their corruptions, and it's going to be quite some time before they can even think about spending them on cores. This week, Blizzard officially announced the new date for the Shadowlands reveal stream. It is going to be taking place on July the 8th, which is a Wednesday. Obviously, we already know about Shadowlands, so the real question is, what are they going to reveal on the stream? I have my fingers crossed for more details on legendary acquisition, as well as soul binding and like what you're going to need to do to keep up with your soul binds. I want more details about the endgame stuff, and I wouldn't be mad at a release date. That would be cool, but I have no idea. We'll have to see. The cat has joined us and is currently just sitting down at my feet, just sitting there. They can't see you down there. Your people need you. How about up here? What about this? In another headline of what's been a very long week, Overwolf has bought Curseforge and will be taking over ownership and running of the add-on management app. So right now, most people are managing their add-ons using the Twitch client, and that functionality is being sold to another company. The CEO of Overwolf has done a Reddit AMA, and in it, they said that they are going to be keeping all current functionality. They said that they are hoping to improve on the functionality, and they also said that the app is going to be ad-supported. Potentially they're looking at a sub fee to allow you to opt out of ads, and either way 70% of the revenue would be going towards the add-on authors. So that is a transition that would theoretically be happening in a couple of months, not like a tomorrow thing, but probably this year thing. As WoW add-on users, our options here are kind of A, go back to manually downloading, installing, and updating all of your add-ons, or B, hope for the best. So I'm going to start out by hoping for the best and then revert to plan A if absolutely necessary. On the Shadowlands Alpha this week, we finally got some new word on Shadow Priest updates. So one of the things was Shadow Word Death was changed a little bit. It specifically is having its damage buffed by 100% when used on mobs at 20% or lower health, basically just kind of making it make more sense as an execute tool, which is kind of what it's for. The big takeaway is that they are bringing back Devouring Plague, or at least something using the Devouring Plague name. So here's the post that they put out. They said that they are intending it to cost insanity and be the only thing other than Void Eruption that costs insanity, and they want you to use it on enemies that tend to die quickly. So the two versions of Devouring Plague that I remember, one of them was just a dot, and the other one was a bigger dot that you spent Shadow Orbs on? Draenor was a long time ago. But neither of them seemed, I mean, I guess if it's kind of like an Unstable Affliction thing where it's kind of a short dot. The problem is that as far as I've seen, it's not on the alpha yet, at least as of my most recent testing, it was not up. I'm really hoping to play around with it because I want to know how it feels. I missed Devouring Plague and I got nostalgic for the name of it, but I want to know if the gameplay is gonna actually feel good to me. Of course, very subjective. I will say that one of my biggest problems with the class is how short it falls during those short-lived ad encounters, and by that I mean in raids, but also like any world quest you've ever done. Shadow Priests tend to be really rough for that. So the change to Shadow Word Death as well as the Devouring Plague revival should hopefully address that. I have my fingers crossed. We also got some new customizations on the Shadowlands Alpha this week. I will highlight a couple of my favorites here. We have some new troll hairstyles. We have some new Pandaren options. These have been hitting the alpha pretty hard and fast. Eventually, I want to do a roundup of at least the new hairstyles for every race, because the new ones are just so delightful. And every time I see a new race get just all of these like pages and pages of options, I just want more. The bitter and petty, although bitty does sound like a word that should be used about bitter petty gnome. I just want more for gnomes. It's great for trolls. Congrats to them. I want more for gnomes. This week was also a dramatic week in the greater WoW streaming community. Now, this little section of news is a little heavier than usual. If that's a discussion that you're not ready for right now, there are timestamps available for you to click ahead to the next section. Basically, there has been some serious allegations of sexual misconduct coming out against prominent streamers as well as organization members. The Method organization in particular has been losing members and affiliated content creators at a remarkable rate after it came out that not only are there some very serious and fairly substantiated allegations against some of their members, but that they knew about these things for years and brushed off these reports and kept these people within their organization. They have now severed ties with at least one of these people, but really only after it became aware that they're just getting buried by bad press. Up until it started getting a lot of noise in social media, they didn't seem inclined to do anything about it. I am not going to dig into specific details here because it's honestly pretty upsetting and has already been widely covered. I will link some relevant coverage down below if you do want to read more, but I've got a couple points about my perspective on the whole thing. So first, I'm really glad that the victims we've heard from have been able to come forward and share their stories, not only to find justice for themselves, but to prevent the same thing from happening to other people. My second point would be that I am furious that they should have to do that. A very common thread in a lot of these stories that you're reading is that Twitter is nobody's first choice of a solution for any of this. These people have contacted the relevant organizations, they have contacted the guilds, they've contacted platforms, they've contacted law enforcement, and it gets buried and buried and buried and keeps happening until you end up with what we have now. Nobody should have to choose between exposing themselves to the internet gauntlet of people that are going to call you a liar among many, many other things, or staying quiet and just hoping it doesn't happen to somebody else. I think that we need to continue to hold platforms and organizations responsible so that they have an actual financial incentive to not just bury these things and hope that they go away. Twitch has released a statement about what they're going to be doing going forward. For some of the smaller organizations and guilds involved, it's less clear about what they're actually going to do to prevent this from happening again, but these are things that I think everybody is looking at as they decide what kind of media they're going to consume and what kind of business partnerships they're going to continue going forward. And adjacent to this topic, I will no longer be supporting Bay of Final Boss TV and will not be working with them in the future. On a less heavy note, in my life this week, I've actually been having a lot of fun on my priest healing some Mythic Plus keys as Holy. I'm playing Holy, but I'm also still wearing all of my Shadow Priest haste and crit corruptions, so I'm just cranking out flash heals like it's Guitar Hero, but then I go remarkably quickly for a Holy Priest, which is the spec that people meme about never spending mana. I have found a way. You just get enough haste and you can do it. And in real life, I would like to share that my juvenile Monstera plant has put on its first leaf with a fenestration. You see that? I am very proud of this plant. It was a little scraggly when I got it a couple months ago, and I didn't know how long it would take it to mature to the point of starting to do this. This is something that they only do as adults, and this one was definitely a juvenile, but it's grown so much in just a couple of months since I got it, and I just can't wait for it to be like inconveniently big. And questions from this week. Sabana Vlack asks, I've been leveling my druid recently, headed to Northrend once I hit 58. What annoys me is once I get there, I can learn to craft items and cook food, but I can't use it until I'm 70. The same thing happens with items from vendor. With the level squish, have they fixed the crafting purchasing level requirements in the old zone so you can buy and use everything as soon as you get there? So that's an excellent question. I logged onto the alpha just today to check, and as it turns out, they haven't fixed it and it looks awful. Once you've hit level 10, of course, you'll be able to head out and start leveling in basically any expansion that you want. But the level requirement for the crafted items and food from all of those expansions has been directly scaled down. So you can't use Pandaria stuff, for example, until level 32. That is not great, and I completely agree with your complaint. I think they should just make all legacy crafted items require level 10 and call it a day. Josh Campbell asks, what do you even have in your fish tank? Just plants. I'm actually curious, please respond. So if you want more of a close-up look, there is better footage of it in my office tour video where I also talk a little bit about it. Essentially, yes, there is just plants. The bush you can see growing out of the back of it is immersed wisteria. There's also more of that plant underneath the water. I have some hornwort and anubias and cryptocorns and duckweed and all kinds of stuff in there. Just plants though, and a couple of pond snails, no fish at this time. It's kind of a science experiment I've never done. This is my first tank that has a soil substrate. It's kind of like a beginner's version of the Wallstad tank for any planted aquarium enthusiasts. So I'm taking it slow and letting it balance and figuring out how to do it. And honestly, it's only going 6 out of 10. I've managed to stall out my hornwort, and that's remarkable. So yeah, just plants for now. And KOGO asks, I have TSM installed but use it to check the prices of things I pick up. Should I sell them? Am I buying something for a fair price, etc.? I use the auction house maybe once a week. Does this add-on itself cause problems in traffic, or is it still fine if I use it for this? So you are totally fine. The TSM use that was causing congestion were people that were like mass canceling and mass reposting over and over and over and over again to stay at the top of the sell list. Just hundreds and hundreds of items continuously over time. What you're doing is not causing any troubles at all. It's totally fine to continue doing that, and TSM is still a great add-on for things like CA market prices and even posting and selling your stuff and having it be priced quickly and accurately. It's just the cancel scans and constant auction resetting that's been largely crippled by this new throttling. And that has been the week. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions that you would like me to answer in one of these news videos, please leave it in the comments of the most recent one. Stop by a stream sometime to say hi if you like, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.